TF BLADE has recently been crushing SoloQ in different parts of the world. From the weaker regions to even the toughest ones, BLADE has proven time and time again that if he cannot make rank 1, he can at least cruise to Challenger. While his Korea trip came to a sudden abrupt end where he was banned for toxicity on his account, I don't really think that actually undermines his accomplishments so far, and so I wanted to take the time to talk about what makes TF BLADE's style so effective in the top lane and what he is doing that a lot of players aren't. So sit back and enjoy while we discuss why TF BLADE outranks you. And that's pretty much everybody. And also, what about TF BLADE's style can make a lane like top seem so strong despite all the constant complaints that top lane sucks massive peener. And remember, as always, if you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, share, sub, click your bells, or else you will have nightmares where you are Tedric in that new Fiddle trailer. Alright, let's get to it. When I started out climbing in League of Legends, and I mean truly climbing, one of the harshest realities that I had to come to terms with as I climbed higher and higher is that some champions suck in a solo queue environment, and some champions really struggle when faced with tougher opposition. I remember the first time I faced TF BLADE when he was playing Akali. This was a while ago before the Akali reworks. I was completely outclassed not only in wave management but also limited in the options that my champion had. Quickly, I was beaten in lane and losing all of my objectives. TF BLADE ran around the map with Akali. He likely did a TP flank or two and executed a lot of little rotations that were outside of my pay grade at the time. But the point of the story here isn't to bitch about pre-rework Akali, but more to point out that the champions TF BLADE plays are notorious solo queue stompers, and he plays them masterfully. TF BLADE is most known for Jax at this time, and while it may seem like I'm jerking myself off a bit here on video, sponsor me Pornhub, I have to mention I have been saying for years that Jax is the literal king of solo queue. The champion does everything you need from top lane, the best, bar none. Top tier split pusher, top tier duelist, top tier team fighter, and top tier diver. When Jax talks all that shit about being the champ or not using real weapons, you get the feeling that Riot knew what they were doing when they designed him. There's one issue with Jax: his laning isn't as stable or as straightforward as some of the other common top lane picks, but that's where TF BLADE's skill truly starts to shine. TF BLADE demonstrates how lane management and smart aggression goes a long way in a solo queue environment. Now, Jax is a tough champion to play through a lane phase, and a lot of champions can absolutely dominate Jax, but TF BLADE knows how to manage harass expertly and knows how to play towards his strengths. So, he rarely loses lanes that he's countered in, he rarely takes so much damage that he gets dove before he comes online, and he crushes the easy lanes or inexperienced opponents he runs into with minimal misplay. From there, he transitions mostly to a heavy split push playstyle, and with smart usage of duels, flanking, and diving, proceeds to manage a positive outcome even with some of the shittier teams. I must admit, learning Tryndamere early in my young age put me at quite a disadvantage in seeing all of these nuances initially. Because my champion was manaless, and the sustain was so good, I totally underrated how much of a skill gap there is in understanding all of those little micro decisions in a lane phase. So, in my opinion, TF BLADE has mastered a weaker early game champion that I would argue probably has the best value when mastered in the top lane. There are weaker top lane streamers out there like, well, I'm not going to say no names, who cannot come close to the results of TF BLADE even when they've mained Jax in the past, and that speaks more to lane consistency and macro knowledge over the actual champion being weak. Because, despite what people try to argue, I think if you go through the history of challenger viability in regards to champion picks in the top lane, you will see that the champ has been taking pieces out of challenger elo for a very long time. So, if you want to climb in the top lane, learn to play for power spikes, learn to split push, and learn that there are a ton of nuances in laning that, if understood, can make even weak champions seem like OPs, even in more of the worst types of counter matchups. There is a tricky little secret about TF BLADE that, while a lot of people realize, they don't actually implement into their games. Now, I've been harping on this in my coachings privately or otherwise, and people tend to ignore my advice time and time again. This advice is simple, and TF Blade showcases this discipline relentlessly in pretty much all of his sessions. That, my friends, is simple. Keeping your champ pool small. Cannot say it enough, and will likely have to say it again and again in countless other videos. Playing too many champions is like failing to stick to your diet. It's the equivalent to eating all of the cupcakes after you said you'd be keto. TF Blade doesn't play a lot of champions when he is hard climbing because, my friends, it is impossible to min-max consistently to the level of play that you need to by jumping around on your selections too often. So let's use an example. Say you win lane with, I don't know, Lucian top, and you don't practice it often. Even if you get 3 early kills, all that will happen in mid-game is that you will misread your damage, misposition, die, and punt off a 3-kill shutdown, not to mention the XP lead. However, if you were a Lucian top specialist and play it a lot more often, you will be able to assess your risks more smartly. TF Blade has been playing Jax for a very long time, and that's why it's his main pick. He will deviate and play some other things occasionally, but he will mostly be playing Jax if he's allowed to, and there is nothing wrong with playing to win in ranked. So stop eating the cupcakes and keep your waistline and your champ pool small like TF Blade. And I've met him and he has a small waistline and a small champ pool, hee. If you've been following the series of why so-and-so outranks you, you will have definitely noticed a trend in that the best players in this game seem to be a bit more opinionated and passionate than others. Some people call it toxic, but by now it's becoming quite evident that if you want to be good at this game, you have to care. And you have to care a lot. Even in the case of Dopa, who is incredibly calm, patient, and a bit OCD in his gameplay, he was notorious for picking and choosing who even made it into Challenger back in his older, more toxic days. Now, TF Blade is not your friend when he is playing for rank. If you fuck up too much, he's going to complain. Recently, he was banned on his Korea account before he could finish trying to get to rank 1. But before this stains TF Blade's reputation, it's also worth noting that he was maybe under a bit more scrutiny considering that Riot Korea let him use their account, which is something that they do. We aren't excusing this behavior on my channel, but I think it's fascinating how we review some of LoL's most famous skill players. They always do seem to be the type to ram heads with other players from a personality perspective. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about this? Is it just something that is bound to happen when you get better at the game? Are you destined to become toxic once you become a top 100 player? Let me know what you think in the comments. To conclude this video, I like TF Blade a lot as a person and a streamer. As a content creator myself, I am a bit biased. I know the kind of work the guy puts into what he does, and I respect it immensely. His results showcase what someone can do if they believe in themselves, come up with a plan, and stay true to it, and are incredibly patient about it. As a result of all of this, TF Blade is a LoL community staple, and he won't be going anywhere for a long time. Even if you disagree with his attitude from time to time, you cannot deny the hustle, and you certainly can't argue against his skill level, because he keeps his champ pool small, picks top tier champions, and pushes himself as hard as he can, like with the quest for ranked 1 challenges. He is known as a high win rate SoloQ legend in a lane that is constantly argued as low impact. Top lane can be low impact, yes, and certainly it could stand to use some buffs. But one thing remains certain: if you heavily outclass your lane opponent's top lane is an ELO goldmine. And it's quite clear now in multiple regions that TF Blade has proven that he outclasses pretty much every top laner in the world. And because of that, now his results speak for themselves. Now, if he can just get back to Korea and China and get that rank 1, he can dethrone Dopa for the ultimate king of SoloQ League of Legends, at least in my opinion. But even if he doesn't make my rank 1 all-time list, I would argue that when it comes to top lane, TF Blade is the true rank 1. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and the buttons and comment the things and click the bells and all that BS. Otherwise, I'm going to have to switch platforms to Pornhub. Your support allows me to crank videos like this out and to afford to have an editor. Thank you so much for watching, and may you not have autofill junglers. Peace, crackers.